Hey, welcome back to 176 Keys. It's been a long time since we've joined you. We just got moved, so we have a whole new streaming setup. Today, I want to take some time and talk about drumming on the keyboard. Dueling piano shows is kind of a combination of skills. One of them is playing the piano, obviously. The second is being able to sing, and a third is being able to play percussion parts on a keyboard. I've been promising this for some time to people I've been working with, and to anyone else who's interested in learning about how to do this better. That's what this is all about. So we are streaming on YouTube and on Facebook Live right now. We're going to take a look at the keyboard. We're going to talk about what sounds live where. We're going to talk about common grooves, patterns, best practices, things maybe not to do, things I don't like for reasons I will explain. And I just want to preface this video by saying I don't have all the answers, but these are things that I've learned that work very well. So if anyone differs in my opinion, that's totally fine. There's many ways up the mountain. I have a lot of experience with doing shows, and I have a good idea of what works and maybe what doesn't. So if you don't agree with everything I have to say, that's totally fine. We have a keyboard here. We've got an Axiom 25. I'm just going to show you that right now. And we have also a computer running main stage. And so what I want to do is I have the keys from a bird's eye view here. So you can see the keys, and you can also see, I also have main stage running here. So you can see that the keys, when I hit them, you can actually see that I've triggered that particular key. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a 3-angle video. So you'll be able to see me talking. You'll be able to see the keys from the bird's eye view. And you're also going to be able to see the keys that are triggered in main stage while I'm playing. So let's have a look at that. All right, cool. So we have myself. You can see me. You can see the bird's eye view of the keyboard. And you can see the keys underneath as they're being played. So let's begin. Keyboard drumming, when you're playing drums for yourself or your partner, maybe you have a looping pedal and you like building your own grooves. We have different sounds on different keys. So we're just going to go through these sounds one by one. This is a general MIDI configuration, and general MIDI was formed in the mid-80s to standardize which sounds live where. So the first key is middle C here. Actually, it's not middle C, but it's the lowest one on this particular keyboard. So that's our kick drum. I just have a standard kit in Logic loaded just for the purpose of demonstration. Some of you might use computers in your live shows. I just use a Yamaha workstation for now, but whatever floats your boat. As long as the sounds are good, I don't care. So this is your kick drum here, and this is the snare. So we have kick and snare. Now this key next to it is another snare, but it's got a bit more aggression to it. It's called a rim shot. So when a drummer hits the snare drum, if you hit the side of the rim while you hit the middle of the snare, you get an extra bit of attack. So this D key sounds good. The E has an extra snap to it. So again, we have the kick drum. And if we had another key beside it, the B, usually there's the same kick drum. So you can do like double kick patterns if you want to. So kick, snare, rim shot. And not all kits will have the rim shot. In this case, it does. So that'd be like a snare too. And then we have some toms here. So a tom drum, that's a low tom. And this particular kit has 2 toms on the F and the G. They're the same pitch, so you can do like a roll instead of, you can do. Okay, so that's handy. So F, G are low toms, and A and B, those are mid-range toms. Again, you can roll those like a trill. And then you also have the octave C and D. So just to review, we have kick drum, we got snare, snare 2, or in this case a rim shot. Then we have low toms, mid toms on A and B, and then the high toms on C and D. You can even hear the snare bleeding on this particular kit. That's interesting, which is cool. So the reason that's happening is because usually the high tom is right above the snare. So when you hit the high tom, the vibrations of the high tom go down to the snare. So it's actually kind of cool that it's doing that. All right, we're going to go back to the beginning and we're going to investigate what's on the black keys. There's different sounds on these keys for different purposes. So the first one we have above the C is a side stick. So a side stick is a percussive tool that drummers use when they don't want to play a full snare. So you take if you were actually drumming, you would take the stick, put the butt of the stick on the center, and then you would tap it down on the rim. So it's like a click. An example of this would be a bossa nova pattern, which is like. You'll notice I'm playing the kick parts with my left hand and I'm playing the side stick with my right hand. As you develop dexterity, you can actually do that with one hand. So we'll demonstrate that later. Right now, let's just talk about the sound. So we have a kick drum on C, the side stick on C sharp. Sounds nice. And we have a snare on D. And then on D sharp, we have what's called a hand clap. That's not my favorite hand clap sound, but it works. You can tell that it changes depending on the velocity. Sometimes there's something called a round robin, and it will alternate the sounds being used so it doesn't sound like a machine gun. You can hear how that's changing. I'd like that to be a little more loud. So kick drum on C, side stick on C sharp, snare 1 on D. D sharp is the hand clap, and then the E is the snare 2 or rim shot in this particular case. So an example of the hand claps, go and listen to Love Shack by the B-52s. You can hear some hand claps layered with the snare. So it's so you can add claps to songs. Sometimes some songs are just clapping your hands, so you can just go. You get people to clap along for whatever. Like there's some of that in, I think, a Grease song, Grease Lightning. So hand claps are important percussive tools, and side sticks as well. So to review, the first 5 keys: kick on C, side stick on C sharp, good for quieter grooves, for bossa novas, things like that. And then you have snare, regular snare. D sharp is going to be the hand clap, and then E is the side stick. Another good tool for the side stick would be Walkin' in Memphis. So that put on my blue suede shoes as I boarded the plane, touchdown. So that side stick is part of that groove. So getting to know which sounds to use in what song is really important. When you're listening to songs, practice playing the drums along with them, even if it's just kick and snare. For people just starting out, I have a guideline, not necessarily a rule. It's all I care is kick and snare. So figure out what the kick is doing, figure out what the snare is doing, figure out what the side stick is doing. It doesn't have to be just like the record, but the closer it is to the record, the happier I am if I'm on stage with you. There's no rules, there's no doing it wrong, there's just whatever excites the audience. And I have some best practices as to how that works. All right, let's move forward to the other black keys here. We have the F sharp. So remember, we've got these 2 toms. In some drum kits, each of these toms is a different pitch. I like that these are the same pitches because we're not Neil Peart. We don't have 7,000 toms. We don't need to worry about that. So very important piece of percussion here. This is the closed hi-hat. F sharp is the closed hi-hat. Matter of fact, on my Yamaha keyboard, I've beaten up on the keys so much that the F sharp probably needs to be rebuilt because it's sometimes double triggers and the key feels really wobbly. Maybe not the best to be playing drums on the keys all the time. Some people have a second keyboard for just drums. I don't really like that because it clutters up the top of the piano shell, and I like the piano shell to be as clean as possible. That's just my preference. Again, there's more than one way up the mountain. So F sharp, closed hi-hat. The general MIDI map says that F sharp is always a closed hi-hat. The next black key is G sharp, and this is called a pedal hat. So when a drummer's playing the hi-hat, there's a pedal that controls whether it's open or closed. So we just played a closed hi-hat. This is a pedal hat where you press the pedal and it springs back open. And then we have an open hi-hat on the B flat. Okay, so we have closed hi-hat on F sharp, and we have open hi-hat on the B flat, or A sharp if you prefer B flat. So open and closed hi-hats are good to use. They're prevalent in disco grooves. So if you're playing a disco song, so like say for example, Dancing Queen. So that's sort of ideal. A lot of disco songs have an alternating open hi-hat, closed hi-hat, or say Staying Alive. That sort of thing. So I don't like offbeat hi-hats. Some people do, like they play offbeat hi-hats all the time. I don't really like that because you're sort of force feeding the meter to your partner. They're playing the piano. If you're playing offbeat hi-hats all the time, you're making every song feel like it's disco, and not every song is disco. I'm not a fan of that. Anyways, it's just a pet peeve of mine. So closed hi-hat, open hi-hat, really good for disco, or if you just want to do a fill periodically. Once in a while is fine. The reason I don't like hi-hats all the time is because there's a lot of mid-range hash. And when you're playing that mid-range hash, it actually interrupts what's happening in your vocals. And even though it's called a piano show or dueling piano show, the vocals are the most important part. That's how you connect with your audience. That's how you sing an effective melody. That's how you tell a joke or deliver a punchline. You want to do something with your vocals that's powerful. Anything that interrupts the power of your vocals is, I don't want to say right or wrong. I would say it's non-resourceful. So if you're singing and your partner's playing this all the time, maybe ask them not to do that because it's taking a chunk out of the frequencies where your vocals live. If there's no singing going on, that's totally fine. So, for example, All the Small Things. It actually it starts with 2 snare shots, so it's or I was playing crash cymbals there. You could play open hi-hats instead, depending on how abrasive your drum kit is. But the rule that I have is it's okay to play open hi-hats and crash cymbals when there's no singing. Sometimes they will overlap, like in a Nirvana tune or something like that. But for the most part, stay away from crash cymbals and open hi-hats while there's singing going on. Not a hard and fast rule, but a good guideline that I like to follow. So all the small things with hi-hats would be like this. So you get the idea. So sometimes crash cymbals are great at the beginning of a song. And also I would add, not all songs need drums at the beginning. A good rule of thumb I like to have is give yourself somewhere to go. If you're playing drums at the beginning of a song and maybe it's not supposed to be there, like In the Air Tonight or Don't Stop Believing or stuff like that, people are always like, play the drums. It's like, I want to make this a dynamic experience. And when you have drums at the beginning and even vocal harmonies, not all songs need drums at the beginning and not all vocals need harmonies at the beginning. Again, if it's not like the record. I like things to be like the record, but if you're doing harmonizing on a song that doesn't have harmonies on the record, maybe stay away from that. And that's because if you add things as you go along to the song arrangement, it's more exciting. Every song should be a dynamic sort of roadmap where things go up and down like this. And some performers, it's just balls to the wall the whole song, and it just goes nowhere. It just lacks energy. In the 90s, you might remember the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and all their records sounded really loud all the time. And so we've gotten this loudness war over the last couple decades, 3 decades, where everything's just getting louder and louder and louder and louder, and dynamics has kind of gone out the window. So I would encourage you to create as much dynamics in your performances as possible. And sometimes that means not playing the snare at all, or just playing a kick drum and nothing else. Maybe shutting up is the best thing to happen to the song in that particular arrangement. It doesn't even have to be like the record, but if it creates interest and captivates your audience, then I believe that that's a good thing. So one more thing with the black keys here, I kind of previewed it already with the all the small things groove, is the C sharp on the octave. That is your first crash cymbal. So a crash cymbal, I like to have crash cymbals happen on transitional parts only. And again, sounds like a hard and fast rule. You can't break it. You can break it, but I like to keep the crashes to a minimum. Sometimes too much of a good thing is not a good thing. So if you're going from a verse to a chorus, or a chorus to a bridge, or anytime there's a transition, that's where I like to insert a crash cymbal. So let's review our sounds here for now. And there's a few extras on top we're going to go through, and then we're going to wrap up, and we'll do another video another time playing over top of an actual song so you can see what I'm playing over top of the song. There's a top 12 of dueling piano songs that I'm going to go through with drums so that everybody knows what I like to play and what I like to hear if you're going to play drums for me. So they have the kick drum at the bottom C, side stick on C sharp, snare on the D, hand claps on the D sharp, E is snare 2, or in this case rim shot, F is the low tom 1, F sharp is your closed hi-hat, G is your second tom, which is the same pitch as this one in this case, G sharp is the pedal hat. Some people like to make the pedal hat the same as a closed hi-hat, so you can do neat little trilly hi-hat patterns. We could do that. We'd have to go into Logic and change it, but nonetheless, these 3 keys are hi-hat related. So closed hi-hat, tom 1 low duplicated, G sharp is pedal hat, your A is the mid tom 1, your B flat is the open hi-hat, and then B is the mid tom 2, and then you got high tom 1 on the C. It's above your kick drum, an octave. And then C sharp is your crash cymbal. Crash cymbal is good for the beginnings of songs, transitions, going verse to chorus, chorus to bridge, turnaround, back to verse. Just crashes are reserve them for transitional points only. It's a good thing. And then we have the D. That's your high tom 2 repeated. And now we've got a few new sounds here. This is a ride cymbal. Nice smooth sound. A ride cymbal is very gentle. It's shimmery. It has a long sustain to it. It lasts. Okay, and on here we have a different crash cymbal. I think it's a China crash. I'm not sure exactly, but there's different crash cymbals that live up here. F. This is the ride bell. So when you're playing a ride cymbal, the outside of the cymbal is the shimmery part, and then the middle is called the bell, and it's got more of an attack to it, kind of like the rim shot. Hear that? So here's our regular snare. So that's as if you'd be hitting the middle of the ride cymbal with the stick, and this is when you're hitting the outside. Okay, so sometimes it's nice to alternate those to create some interest or some energy. And then we have a couple other sounds here. F sharp up top, this is a tambourine. Not my favorite tambourine sound, but that's where it lives, on F sharp above the second C. And on the G, there's nothing on this key for this kit for some reason, but the G sharp is a cowbell. Again, not my favorite cowbell sound, but in general MIDI, tambourine lives F sharp, cowbell lives here. There's another ride cymbal here. I don't know if all kits are like that, but that's kind of where we're going to stop for now. So there are 2 octaves, kick, side stick, snare 1, hand clap, snare 2, low tom 1, closed hi-hat, low tom 2, pedal hi-hat, mid tom 1, open hi-hat, mid tom 2, high tom 1, crash cymbal, high tom 2, ride, China crash, ride bell, tambourine, nothing here, and then the cowbell. So those are all of our sounds. I'm just going to play some grooves on top of these keys just to demonstrate a couple different patterns, and then we're going to wrap things up. So. So a cool groove for the cowbell is actually We're Not Gonna Take It by Twisted Sister. So when you play it right, it sounds like. Get the idea. So learning how to play those grooves, the best thing you can do is just practice. Take a song you like. Doesn't have to be perfect. Listen closely to what the kick drum is doing. Listen closely to what the snare is doing. Figure that out. If you need to practice, you can work with kick on your left hand and snare on the right. And when you get really good with your left hand, you can use these 2 fingers to do kick and snare patterns on their own. This technique works really well because at some point you're going to be talking to a customer. They're going to be handing you a request form. You're going to be dialing up a new chord chart on your iPad or whatever. And sometimes if you can just keep the main beat going enough for your partner to keep going, then it's helpful. When you quit playing the drums and jump back in whenever you feel like it, it can be awkward for your partner. If you are going to stop drumming, pick a strategic point to stop and then engage with whatever else you need to do. And then when you feel you're ready, come back on a time that makes sense too. Being intentional with this gig, what are you doing and why are you doing it? How are you enhancing the performance rather than hurting it? What are you doing that's more for your comfort than for the benefit of the audience? So I'm going to stop there, but I want to thank you guys for watching. This has been 176 Keys. My name is Craig. If you want to visit our website, please feel free to visit www.176keys.ca. We also have our YouTube channel, which you just watched this on or you watched on Facebook, called Piano Entertaining. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me, and we will see you guys next time. God bless you.